Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bright Spots. I'm really excited that you've chose to spend a little bit of time with us this evening. It was beautiful here in the Ohio Valley today, and I hope it was beautiful wherever you are as well. Speaking of wherever you are, if you're tuning in this evening, please be sure and drop us a message down below. Let us know that you're here and where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you. And as the evening goes on, if you have questions for our guest, please don't hesitate to put those in the comments below, and we'll be sure and get them answered for you. I'm so excited about our guest tonight. I think that you're really going to enjoy the message that she has to share with us about joy and abundance. I think you're going to love it. Our guest this evening is Gloria Grace Rand. And I didn't tell Gloria this off the air, but when I was a young girl, my dad nicknamed me Grace. And it wasn't a really good thing. It was because I was a little clumsy and I knocked things over at the dinner table all the time. So my dad nicknamed me Grace. There comes Grace. But I love the name Grace. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So Gloria Grace Rand is the Insightful Copywriter. She is a #1 best-selling author, host of the Live, Love, Engage podcast, and acclaimed internet marketing expert for over a decade. Gloria combines proven internet marketing strategies with intuitive knowledge that enables her clients to profit online. She is the author of the book, Live, Love, Engage, How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this book, Gloria shares her journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening that began when her sister was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. After applying the principles she teaches in the book to heal her childhood trauma, Gloria is now on a mission to help others live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome to the broadcast, Miss Gloria Grace Rand. Hi, Gloria.
Oh, hello, Lori. Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for that lovely introduction. It was awesome.
Oh, I am thrilled to have you. It is wonderful to have you. And full disclosure to our guests that are watching, Gloria has dogs. I think you may have heard them bark. And I have dogs, and I'm pretty sure you heard mine bark. So they are just going to be part of the broadcast tonight. And that's the joy of going live. So, Gloria, take us through the journey. Where did your career begin, and how did you land where you are right now?
Well, it's been an interesting journey, I will tell you, because I started off, well, if you want to go way back when, I actually majored in business in college and did terribly at it, and switched my major to actually mass communications, television. And I actually, my first job after working some part-time jobs, I lived in Miami, Florida at the time, and I worked for the Nightly Business Report when it was on public television. And I worked my way up from being character generator operator, which is basically someone who would type up the lovely words and stock prices that we would put on the show. And eventually I became a writer and a backup producer. And that was a really great opportunity. I loved working in television. And let's see, when we had, not this last recession, but I don't know, 3 recessions ago, whenever it was, back in 2008, PBS lost a lot of funding and I wound up losing my job. And so I had to figure out something else to do. And, you know, they say when one door closes, another one opens. I had been getting a letter in the mail repeatedly from this company that the letter said, "Can you write a letter like this?" And it was advertising a course in how to write junk mail, direct mail advertising, essentially. And so I wound up deciding that, yeah, I could do this. And I invested in the course and eventually realized that everything was moving online at that time. This was about a little over 10 years ago now. And so I decided to study SEO copywriting, and that's SEO stands for search engine optimization. So it really appealed to me because I had to use the logical part of my brain to figure out what words would people would be using to search for a particular company's website on Google. And then I'd have to actually then use the creative side of my brain to incorporate those words into content for the website that would make it not only interesting for someone when they got to the website that they'd want to read on, but that they'd actually take action. And the first time I was able to get one of my clients onto the first page of Google, I was like, okay, this is cool. I love this. And I was hooked. And so I spent a good many years doing that and really enjoyed, still do enjoy writing content for business websites and everything from the homepage to a service page or helping them with their email marketing and all of that type of work. And yet at the same time, as you mentioned, a few years ago, my sister was diagnosed with cancer. And when that happened, everything sort of shifted. Our priorities changed. And when I lost her, I really did lose the passion for my business. She was my cheerleader. And she was always the one who would kind of pump me up when I was feeling down, like I wasn't doing well enough in my business. And it was tough for a while to be able to get past that. And but thankfully I did. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that because it is what led to my writing of my book and how I was able to overcome the grief, certainly, and really sort of find my passion for life and business again.
Well, wow, what a journey you have been on through your life. I'm sure that working for PBS was challenging and rewarding. I still enjoy PBS and the programming, that they put out. They recently did a whole series on country music and how it began and, where it is today. And it was quite a journey through country music. So you don't always think about the writers that are behind that content, and it's interesting because I think now I'll be thinking someone like Gloria is back there writing that content. And that's really, really interesting to me. So Gloria, so your sister was ill and you took time to be with her, it sounds like. How long did it take you to realize that her death had such an impact on you that it would really change the course of your life?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it was unfortunately, a short period of time for her. She was diagnosed in July of 2015 and transitioned like 18 months later. It was in December, and the experience. I mean, number one, she lived in Arizona. I lived in Florida, so I was flying out there as often as I could to be with her. Even though it was tough, it was really great to be able to spend this much time together. But she was 10 years older than I was. And so we really we'd been slowly getting to know each other over the years, but it really turned out to be a blessing in disguise because we got to compare our childhoods and because we did have different childhoods growing up. And I was really grateful to be able to spend time with her. But yeah, when she passed, it really hit me hard. And my parents had already been gone for a number of years before that, and I also we had an older brother who passed away when I was 18 or 17, but I think it was because I think it was especially because a couple of things. Number one, she was like the last remaining link to my family that I grew up with, and I was right there with her. I hadn't been there when my brother, my father, and mother passed on, but I was in the same room there with her. She was able to be at home, which was something that she wanted to do. She wanted to be with her cat, and her cat was actually on the bed with her on this hospice bed that they had brought over from the hospital. And and so I know she went out the way that she wanted to. But what was interesting was 2 months actually before she passed, I had been meditating for years. And during this meditation, this idea popped into my head that said, you should write a book about love. And I'm like, I do marketing. What are you talking about? What do you write a book about love? This is seemed totally ludicrous to me. Um, and yet after I finished meditating, I like just opened up a document on my computer and was like, okay, let me write about this. What the heck would I have to do? Why would I say I need to write a book about love? And then it was like, God was just really sending me this message, and that love was actually an acronym. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Um, and then just as quickly, really, as that happened, it was like I had to fly out to Arizona because my sister was having some complications, and we almost lost her at the end of October. So it really wasn't until probably, I think, 2018 when I started to revisit the idea of the book again. And I had gone through quite a bit in that time in the interim, from attending some grief counseling, reading some books. I was in actually a business development program at the time, learning how to run masterminds. And so I was trying desperately to keep my business afloat, but not doing a very good job of it because I was miserable. But finally, I connected with a really good coach who actually helped me to start focusing in on spirituality and what I believed, and to help me focus in on the book. And things started to shift, and I was able to, well, it really came about in the end of 2019, where I had this sudden realization during a coaching call that the reason I had to write this book about love was because I needed to learn it for myself. As is so often the case when people have to teach something, it's because they need to learn it themselves first. So yeah, so that's sort of how that then came about, how I really started last year was when it all came together, and I was finally able to truly, completely finish reading the book. And I'm still going to be following these practices that I wrote about, because it's a never-ending journey.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. So did the pandemic then, with the shutdown orders, that kind of enabled you to have the time to really focus?
Yeah,
So
it
talk
did.
about a pandemic positive.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, that was what the introduction to the book. I said, it took a pandemic to light a fire under my ass to get this done, because I really did feel like it was giving me a perfect opportunity, and I really felt like, I was seeing so much negativity in the world that it's like, okay, God gave me. I really do. I believe that God gave me this message, and that I need to share it with people. So if I can help to improve someone's life by learning the lessons that I've been learning, then I need to get it out there.
So let's talk a little bit about the book. You said there are several points in the book, and folks, this is what the book looks like. And this is the beautiful cover. Did you design the cover?
I did not design the heart. I had one of my, I have a coaching client of mine, is also a graphic artist, and she actually came up with that heart for my podcast, which I also named Live, Love, Engage. I started the podcast at the end of 2019 as well, because I thought it would be a good way for me to even help me to write the book. I thought I could share ideas that I was having about the book and the podcast. And so she created that lovely logo for the podcast. And when we were designing the book, I'm like, okay, I have to incorporate this heart. And then someone suggested on Facebook to put pink in the heart in the center, and it was like, oh, that was so brilliant, because I didn't have that before. I just had it all white, and I was like, I loved it.
So if you are interested in getting the book, you can get it at gloriarand.com. It is available on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
Okay. And when did the book come out?
It came out on February 21st of this year. I love that because it was 2/21/21, and it was also my sister's birthday. And so that's what I was
Oh,
really, yeah, because as we were nearing the end of last year, I asked my publisher, okay, how much time, do you need? When can I how can I get this done? And to be able to come up with a good publishing date, because I was originally thinking Valentine's Day, and then I thought, ooh, the 21st would be good because it is her birthday. So we were able to make that happen. And I made sure that I got the book done in time so that we could have that date.
so for people that are watching, how hard was it to get your own book published, and how did you go about doing that?
Well, I think the publishing part itself um, was really the writing part that was the trouble. But I interviewed several different publishers. I got some recommendations from some people, and finally landed on Beyond Publishing. Michael Butler is my publisher, and I liked that he deals a lot um, with authors who are sharing like inspirational messages, and so that felt good to be with someone who understood what I was going through, and he made it really easy so that all I had to basically do was submit the manuscript, and he could handle the rest of it, and was able to get me #1 best-selling recognition on Amazon, which is what everybody wants to be able to have. So so the actual publishing part of it, I did do the editing. In retrospect, I probably should have hired an editor to do it, but I think, since I'm a writer and I went over it time and time again, kept going over it several times and changing things around and fixing it around. So could I have done better? Of course. But you know what? It's my first book, and my next one will be better, because that's just the way it always is with our first book. I think it's, you do the best you can, and I'm pretty sure there's no spelling mistakes, at least, and hopefully no grammar mistakes. I really did try for that, but it was truly the writing part that took. I mean, it really was 4 years essentially for it to get done, and really about 1.5 years of serious commitment to it to get it done. Because I wanted it to be as good as it could possibly be, and I didn't want to just slap something together.
So take us through the book, and what lessons are you teaching with this book?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's as I mentioned earlier, it all revolves around love, and love is an acronym. And so I divided the book into 4 parts so it could follow each one of these letters of the word. And the L stands for let go and let God. And it's about really letting go of a lot of things, letting go of limiting beliefs that you're holding on to, letting go of, well, primarily that. I think letting go of limiting beliefs, letting go of some of the preconceived notions we have of things, and letting go of feeling that we're not good enough, and just letting God handle things for us, and being able to appreciate that when we can do that, when we can just not have to like micromanage everything, every part of our lives, and trust that God will provide for us, that God will provide, essentially. And then the O stands for open your heart to receive. And it was interesting when that first came to me. It was like, okay, receive what exactly? And so it turned out it was in writing about it, because originally I was thinking it was going to be more of a business book. And so I was like, okay, well, open your heart to receive money. I mean, certainly. And I actually share a story in the book about my sister. She was a massage therapist, and she, one of the things she had an issue with was, as we all do from time to time, is she didn't value herself and didn't think she was worthy. And she had a client who wanted to give her a really big holiday bonus. And she called me on the phone going, I don't know, Gloria, if I can accept this. It was like $1,000. And I was like, wow, I'd be happy if someone decided to give me $1,000 bonus. I'm like, oh my gosh. But she felt uncomfortable with that amount of money. And so I, helped her realize that, well, you needed to do this because otherwise you'd be rejecting the client, frankly. They'd gotten a lot of relief from my sister, and this was how they wanted to be able to show her how much they appreciated her. So it's important really for us to be able to open our hearts to receive money. Love, essentially, is really what it comes down to. And then the V stands for value your uniqueness. And that really is, it's interesting. This was the part of the book that I had the least amount done last year, I realized, as I was kind of going through my handwritten notes that I first did and then started typing it up. And I was like, maybe it's because I'm not valuing my own uniqueness very much. And so I had to do some work around that myself personally. And because it really is important for us to acknowledge the different talents and abilities and knowledge and experience that we have, and to really own that and appreciate it. Because especially for people who are in business, if you don't value what you have to offer, then how are you going to expect anyone else to be able to then pay you for what you provide? Because they're not going to value it either. And then finally, the E, love, stands for embrace your divinity. And this really is about acknowledging that, at least in my belief, that we're all created in God's image and that we are part of God. And it's important to recognize that and appreciate that part of ourselves and to really love ourselves. And ultimately is what it comes down to, and being able to spend some time on appreciating who we are. And so that's, I share some stories about, how I grew up, and part of where a lot of this doubt came from, and even like with my sister as well, is that my dad was an alcoholic. And so we grew up in a stressful household, a really tense, where you didn't quite know what to expect from day to day, how dad was going to show up or how mom was going to react and things like that. And so it's, there's people who have experienced worse childhoods, people have experienced baddest, but that was our experience. And it was, had an impact, as I've realized in growing up and becoming an adult and learning more and realizing, oh yeah, that's why I act the way I do. Okay. But now I can change. That's the beauty of it, is that I don't have to stay in those old patterns anymore.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us or you're watching this replay later, our guest this evening is Gloria Rand, and she is an incredible inspiration and author of a new book. And we want you to visit her website at gloriarand.com and check out all she has to offer. I would love to show you her website now. And that's not your website, Gloria.
Oh, so. No, you're right. That's not, is it?
Get that out of there. That's actually the Bright Spots website, which is okay, but that's not what we wanted to share. So, again, the joy of being live, right?
Yeah, that's okay. So, hey, it had my picture there, so, it was okay. There we go.
That's right. So this is Gloria Grace Rand's website. And Gloria, I noticed on your website that you have a blog, and you write on a lot of different topics, and your podcast also covers a lot of different topics. And one of the things that I noticed, I believe it was in your podcast, that you talk about unpacking your baggage and how freeing that is when we can unpack the baggage that has, kind of colored our lives, so to speak.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And is that something that you offer in your coaching class on on how to unpack that baggage?
Well, it really is about getting, unloading all of these things that we've picked up over the years, and a lot of times it's um, things we've stuffed in there that weren't even our things to put in the baggage. They were things we picked up from our family, perhaps or maybe the school that we went to or the church we belong to, and essentially it's these limiting beliefs that we pick up on just in growing up that really aren't ours, and they're just keeping us from all of the joy and abundance that we want to have in life. So yeah, that is part of what I work with, and when I'm doing coaching with clients, and I really enjoy being able to help people work through some of that, and to be able to focus in on what's unique about them, and to be able to appreciate their God-given talents, and to be able to shine their light in the world, because there's so many people that really do doubt themselves. I recently wrote an article about imposter syndrome, and how so many, especially business owners, but even just other employees, professionals, have this. We have these doubts about that we're not good enough, or that if we don't measure up to other people. We see them, or maybe people in a similar industry, and they appear to be succeeding, and we feel like we're not getting on as fast as we should be. And a lot of times it's just that, number one, it may be just a faulty perception, and maybe they're not even as successful as we believe they are. But it's not. We need to be able to appreciate what we have, and to be able to recognize that we do have value, and it's okay to go at a different pace. You can go at whatever pace you want, as long as you keep moving. That is the important thing. You've got to keep moving. You can slow down occasionally, and feel your feelings, because that is important too. But if you want to be able to make a difference in this world, you have to just pick yourself up. And I went through this yesterday. Frankly, had been kind of in a funky mood for a little bit, and I for a while was doing like Facebook Lives, and sharing inspirational messages, and I hadn't done it for a very long time. And I was like, you know what? I need to just do one today. It's like, come on, just get going. And after I did it, I felt so much better. Again, it was such a joy to be able to do that, and to be able to share a message. I love reading the Daily Word from Unity, and that's what I did, and actually shared another story about something that was going on in my own life. And it just filled me up again. And I was able to go on now and do a lot of other work. And that's so important for us to, I think, to also pay attention to, is to make sure that you're doing things during the day that really do fill up your cup, that light you up, that bring some joy into your life. Because if you try to force yourself to do things when you're not motivated, it's going to take you forever, or you're not going to do a very good job. So you might as well just take a break for a couple of minutes and do something else that you like, and then you can refocus. I can't hear you for some reason. Did you mute?
Yeah,
there you go.
Because the dogs were barking, and I didn't want them to interrupt you. So tell us who your ideal client is when you're looking to acquire a coaching client. Who is it that you coach?
Who I coach is I think my ideal client is actually someone very similar to myself, a woman who is possibly an empty nester, or someone in this transition phase of their life, where perhaps they were working full time, and now they've, for whatever reason, maybe not intentionally, maybe they've had to make a change, maybe they were let go, and now they're trying to figure out what else to do with their life now, or maybe they they just are looking for a change and they're not quite sure what to do, or someone who's also suffered some type of loss, whether it's a divorce or they've lost a loved one, and they've had their world upended and they need to want to get back on track and figure out what to do. I definitely like helping people in that respect, especially women, because well, I can relate certainly, and I'll be able to share my experience and how I was able to overcome it, and hopefully help them as well. So yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening on Bright Spots. And folks, if you are watching and you'd like to pick up Gloria Grace Rand's new book, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Vital. That's just amazing. Stop by GloriaRand.com. You can also search for the book on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. So, Gloria, thank you so much for joining us tonight all the way from Florida. And I presume it is sunny in Florida.
It is sunny, yes, and it's a little bit warmer than probably Ohio, but it's nice. I grew up in Michigan, and lovely winters are nice to visit, but I like the warm.
Yeah. Today was actually in the 70s, so it wasn't bad here at all today. It was beautiful.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, it was a rough day to be in the office, I'll tell you that.
Sure.
It's one of those days you'd prefer to be out somewhere.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much, and I do hope that you will keep us posted when you're going to write that next book. And I pray much success over your best-selling book, that it becomes even a bigger seller.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on the show today and being able to share a bit of my journey with everyone. And I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you, Gloria. So, folks, that concludes another episode of Bright Spots. I invite you back next week for one more show, and our guest next week I think you're going to love as well. We are so blessed to have some wonderful guests on Bright Spots, and they never disappoint. God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.